Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Park Life as we head to Walsall. Coming up on today's show, we go back in time with Will Barrett, the manager and the captain, look ahead to the game, and we put your questions to Lewis Ward. But first, let's look back at last weekend's action at Southend, including that goal from Alex Fisher.
Egbury. And this is Goodship. Onto his left foot. Oh, super strike, super goal from Brandon Goodship. His goalkeeper, Mark Oxley. And Oxley has cleared it straight to an Exeter player. And here's Bowman. And this is Randall. 1-1. 5 minutes before half-time, Exeter equalise. Poor clearance from Mark Oxley. And he slips in Joe Randall of the season. And here he is again. Oh, and he slipped past his man. And the curler is brilliantly punched away. Good chip. This is a good one, and there's a foul. What has the referee, Kevin Johnson, seen? He has seen a foul in the area, and it is a penalty against Lewis Ward. 2-1, Southend lead. Still Collins gets the run of the ball, and the shot is really well saved. The ball for Exeter. Williams almost won the header. Taylor trying to force his way through. And this is the substitute, Alex Fisher! Oh my word! 5 minutes into stoppage time, and Exeter have equalised. Heartbreak for Southend. Onto the left foot and picks his spot. Nothing the goalkeeper could do about that at all. How much time is left? None is the answer. Southend were oh so close to winning for the first time this season, but they've had to settle for a point after a late equaliser.
Next up, we hear from the manager. Here are Matt Taylor's thoughts as we look to continue our good form on the road.
Look, it's a game we're against an opposition who've started the season well. I was at their game on Tuesday night, and they're excellent in some respects to their play, and we're a dominant team and well-deserved winners. And always been a strong team at home. Had a real experience there last season where we were poor, really poor for half the game. Came back into it second half and managed to get a stranglehold of the game, only to lose out 3-1 at the end. And that was our last game before the season was suspended as well. So certainly mixed experiences in relation to Walsall, but we're expecting a game with a really strong opposition and an opposition who are really on their mettle at the moment. So we've got to match that, and we've got to use the ball. I expect it to be a good pitch and a fast game, and two teams going at each other. So hopefully we'll come out on top in relation to that. We've certainly got to improve certain areas in relation to our performance last weekend, but we've got a hungry group of players who've worked well this week and ready for this weekend.
You mentioned their home form now. I think stretching back to before lockdown, that's 10 games unbeaten in the league. I mean, they're going to be a tough team to break down, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. They've got some really strong players, a lot of attacking threats from all over the pitch. But we've got to get their attacking players deeper, not allow them closer to our goal. So field position will be a big aspect, and that was one thing we looked at last weekend because our field position against Southend was excellent. But it's all well and good having the majority of the field position and the actual possession of the ball. We've got to use it and get an end product off the back of that. But two honest teams, a manager who's worked really well with a group of players there, had a lot of success previously with Bristol Rovers, a relatively local team to us, and a certain way of playing. I've got full respect for their intensity and their desire to get at teams and put teams under pressure. We've got to respond to that. Like I say, last season my mind cast back and we didn't handle the pressure the opposition put on us for 45 minutes of that game. So that might be a bit of a clue in relation to what to expect this weekend. We've got to start the game well, settle ourselves down and use that ball and get some of our attacking players high up the pitch as well.
Last weekend marked a milestone for captain Jake Taylor as he made his 250th Exeter City appearance. We caught up with our captain Fantastic ahead of today's game.
Proud achievement for me to play 250 games for Exeter. It seems to have gone really quickly, but definitely an enjoyable period of my football career, and hopefully I can go on to play many more.
We have been good on the road so far this season. I think that's 6 league goals away from home. you must be confident going into that we can repeat that again.
Yeah, I think so. You know, we've been pretty good away from home, like you said, putting some good performances. So yes, it's all about us going into the game. You know, we know that they're going to be, you know, a strong team to play against, but you know, we've had a good week's training. It's nice to have sort of a full week training going into a game, and definitely, yeah, like I said, we've picked up some really good results so far this season. So going in there full of confidence, and hopefully we can come back with a good result.
You might remember last season on this pitch behind me, a thrilling 3-3 draw with Walsall after being 3-0 down. But our historian Will Barrett looks back at some more historic contests with the Saddlers.
This weekend sees the team travel to the Bescott Stadium for only the 6th league match between the two sides since the ground was opened by Sir Stanley Matthews in August 1990. The Grecians' first trip to the stadium came almost 3 years later in a League Cup match that ended 0-0, which was the last time that the game between these two clubs has ended goalless. In fact, it is the only time in a record that goes back to 1927 that both teams have blanked in this fixture. Looking at the history of games between our two clubs, goals have not been hard to come by. And in the 79 games played in all competitions, there have been 3 or more goals on no less than 54 occasions. Keeping on trend, last season's fixtures saw a total of 10 goals, with Walsall coming out on top 3-1 in their win back in March, whilst no one is likely to have forgotten the very entertaining 3-3 draw at the Park just before last Christmas, when City fought back from going 3-0 down. Walsall currently boasts the longest active unbeaten run in England's top 4 tiers, which suggests that it's going to be a challenging afternoon for the lads. However, if history is anything to go by, then it is very unlikely to be a dull one.
Last week it was verti draining, this week it's something entirely different. Here's another pitch update from Chaz as he tells us what him and his team have been doing with 16 tonnes of sand.
Obviously, following the verti draining from last week, we scratched the surface up, removed some of the shallower rooting grasses with a little rake, like just a springbok rake, but on the back of a tractor, and then picked up all the mess on Friday and then Monday. In fact, you came in Sunday to cut it, to get that up because it was dry. And then this morning, we had a grab lorry arranged to pick up 16 tonne of sand from the Cat and Fiddle, bring here, and then from the video that we took, you're able to see how we load it and spread it, and it's all 16 tonne in 45 minutes, which I'm pretty impressed with, having done quite a lot of shoveling in my life. If I can avoid shoveling, I do.
And the sand itself, is that to help with sort of pitch drainage?
It was just to improve the surface, really. We're doing it while we've got a good grass cover. It'll get absorbed into the grass, and then obviously the idea being it'll hold the grass and the surface as long as possible, as dry as we can. There will also be an element of the holes we put in. Some of the sand will work its way into the holes and obviously keep those open, because sand's better than silty mud on the surface. And it's the same sand as we use in the sandbanding when we do the end of season renovations. It's all the same sand, so it's all compatible with each other. It's what they call it's turf sand, so it's actually sieved, so there's no fine stuff in it. It's just a certain grade of sand, which we buy locally down in Newton Abbot.
And our pitch itself is more of the older fashioned, style pitch, isn't it? Does that mean you have to do these things in a certain way?
Yeah. I mean, it's an old, what they call a soil-based pitch, so it's based on a soil rather than the whole lot being taken away and a completely new medium put in, which in itself would give you issues, just different issues. I mean, looking after grass and people running around on it, it wears out, and you've got to find innovative ways of keeping that grass cover and keeping it going as long as possible. I mean, the likelihood is at some point in the season, if the gods are against you and it rains every match day, you're going to lose grass cover, in which case you've only got mud, and you're not going to regrow grass in the middle of winter. So the idea really is we hold on to it as long as we possibly can, and anything we can do for that to happen, we will do.
And a week to go until the next game here. I mean, what else will you be doing up to that point?
Okay, so we've got a week to go. Weather very dependent on the weather. If the weather's with us, we might get another little spike in up to the weekend, and then sort of from Friday onwards, Friday over the weekend, and then Monday and Tuesday, we'll be concentrating on getting the bigger mowers out, as long as it's not too wet, and getting that surface nice and flat and push down, because then we've got a little flurry of games. So obviously the football will take precedent over the maintenance, and then we'll see what we're like at the other end of that before we move forward and try and get back to keeping the surface for as long as we can.
Well, hopefully the weather gods will be on your side.
Hopefully they will. Hopefully they will.
What you're doing.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, mate. Cheers.
Who was his idol growing up, and what were some of his favourite career memories? We put some of your questions to goalkeeper Lewis Ward this week, including can he touch the roof of his house without jumping? Here's what Lewis said.
We have a selection of fan questions for you. Logan Burns, we'll start with this one. Logan asks, can you touch the roof of your own house without jumping?
I've actually got quite high ceilings in my flat, which is quite nice. So that is a no, but door frames are a concern. They are. I do have to duck, to be fair. So yeah, luckily no, but door frames are conscious. I am conscious of.
There we go, Logan. That's that one cleared up for you. Alistair Yates asks, what would you do if you were not a footballer? And do you have any hidden talents?
Hidden talents, probably not. Obviously, I've done my degree in sports journalism while I was playing a few years ago, which was a passion of mine. It was quite nice. I was quite good at English at school, so writing became quite easy to me. But I think I'd be involved in sport in some way or another, whether that be the journalism side, working for maybe a newspaper, or maybe on a sort of a media team at a club. That would be quite nice. But I think if I had to stop football for whatever unfortunate reason at the moment, I'd probably look to go into the media side or coaching, one of the two.
Cool. Good. It's a good world to work in. I tell you from experience, particularly at Exeter City Football Club, of course. James Norby asks, what's your favourite sport outside of football?
Favourite sport outside of football? I quite like F1, Formula 1 racing on the weekends. I don't mind on a Sunday maybe watching the opening 10 laps, having a little nap during the rest of it, and then waking up for the last 10 laps. It's quite a nice recovery day for me.
Nice. Well, that fits into one of the other questions we had, which is Ollie Manton, who said, what is your perfect Sunday?
I don't know really. I think probably watching Super Sunday, probably watching football. I think that's kind of just an easy one on a day off, just to sort of watch, if you can, all the games, because they're staggered so nicely now. You've got the 12:30s, you've got the 2:30s, you've got the 4, and then you've got the 7:30 at night now on a Sunday. So it's really quite nice just to watch 4 games of football and maybe have a nap in between if they're a bit quiet.
It fills the day perfectly, doesn't it? I don't think my wife's too happy about it, but I think it's absolutely ideal.
I live on my own, so it's perfect.
Happy days. Less than perfect, or I'm not sure. You can tell me. But Elliot Lewis says that on Sweens' Instagram, you had trainers to match the City training gear. And was that deliberate?
I'm coordinated. I like being coordinated. It doesn't make a difference. You'll see my gloves are matching my boots. If we wear the blue kit, the boots, gloves match the kit. So I am a coordinated guy. It's just how it is. It just happened.
You're just an organised man.
I am, yeah.
That's what style is important. So there's that one. CITD1. What's your favourite thing about living in the local area?
For me, I've sort of lived in a rural area before coming down here, so it's quite nice. I live in town. I live close to the ground, so it's nice just to be able to walk into town and just relax. Obviously, with the COVID regulations, it's a little bit more difficult, but I like to just go into town of an evening after a game or something, go get a meal, which was quite nice. So I do like living in town and just being able to walk everywhere for me.
It's nice and it's convenient. I live just on the edge of town. It's ideal. We're going to sort of go into bests and favourites kind of mode now. So Jamie Talbot asks, who's the best player you've ever played against or with? And someone else, I don't know, someone else asked, who's the best player you've ever played with and why is it Matt J? So if the answer is Matt J, brilliant. But if not, who's the best player you've ever played against or with?
Against probably Tammy Abraham. He was carnage when we were younger. Like playing against him at Chelsea was horrible. I still have nightmares. It's not great. I'd like to obviously, if we draw them in the FA Cup, if we get to the third round, that'd be perfect. Sort of a little reunion after that, but I'd hopefully come out on top in that one. Best player I've played with, probably Jack Stacey. It was obviously when I was younger at Reading. He was in the youth team with me, and obviously Exeter goal scorer as well, the semi-final goal. So Jack Stacey, and obviously brilliant for him being at Bournemouth. But yeah, he's probably the best player I've played with. He's a very good player. Yeah, he had a moment for us. I think that's a popular answer for fans down here, and a moment we will remember for a long time. I'd have thought. Jake on Insta. I don't know if it's Taylor, but just Jake. But who was or is your goalkeeper idol? Growing up, I like to watch Joe Hart. I still think he's a top goalie, and I think just his kind of attributes sort of mirrored what I thought I would become, sort of height-wise, shape-wise. I tried to sort of mirror his game and try and pick out the best bits of what he did and try and replicate it in how I play, really. So I think Joe Hart growing up was one of the goalies I kind of aspired to be like.
That's a good shout. I think I once said that Joe Hart would be as good as Manuel Neuer, but before interviewing you, I was watching some Manuel Neuer footage from when he was 20, and it's absolutely remarkable. But I remember Joe Hart once saying that he looked up to him as well in a peer group. So it's a good group of players to consider there.
Yeah.
Speaking of remarkable goalkeeping, what is your favourite save? That's been asked by Freddie Martin.
The last one, the one in the face. I think it was just the way the game played out after that was such a crucial save. I think saves don't really. It's always nice to make a camera save. You tip one out the top corner, but for when a save's important, if in the first minute or the last minute, and you win a game, you keep a clean sheet, because if that goes in, we probably don't score the first goal or the second goal, and then we're behind after that. So that was nice to make a save and contribute to the sort of the team going forward and winning the game.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's timing that makes the save rather than the action itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think so. The final one is Oliver Ingham over on Instagram, and he asked what's your favourite moment in your career so far?
I've had a few sort of coming through. I think playing for England under 16s was an honour. I think I went there too early. I think that's probably why I haven't been back. I wasn't physically ready, wasn't mentally ready for England at the time. But that was always an honour to wear an England shirt and 3 lions. Sort of when I was under 18s, playing the semi-finals of the Youth Cup, which was nice. Sort of that was when my academy team, Reading, hadn't ever been that far in the tournament, so it was nice to sort of have that sort of historic landmark there. Playing in the playoffs for Aldershot, that was another step. So I've had sort of each milestone ticked off for me, and sort of the playoffs for Forest Green the year before, and then getting to Wembley. Obviously I didn't play in the final, but that was obviously a nice moment, and unfortunately it wasn't a win, but that's probably the highlight of my career so far, was getting to the playoff final at Wembley, which was nice to sort of warm up, and then obviously the day didn't go how we wanted to, but that was probably the biggest moment so far.
That's it. It's everything that comes with it, and of course you've got many years. You've got many years ahead of you in your career. So maybe we'll talk again at some point about more perfect and favourite moments. But until then, all the best for the rest of the season. All the best for the games coming up thick and fast over the next couple of weeks. And thank you so much for talking to us today.
No worries. Anytime.
They did suffer their first league defeat of the season last week, but it's still been a positive start to the season for Exeter City women. Here's another update from David Gribble.
Since the last time we spoke, they've played at Buckland in a local derby. They won that game 6-1, so a really good performance probably the highlight of the season so far. They went 1-0 down in that game and came back to score 6 goals. So yeah, that was a really good performance. And then they followed that up with a tough fixture at home against Southampton Women, who were runners-up last season. But that was a 1-1 draw, again showing good character coming from a goal behind. And then on the Sunday just gone, they played up at Southampton, who are affiliated with Southampton Football Club that we know of with the Premier League, and unfortunately they lost 3-0. But speaking to Clive and Abby, they were really pleased with that performance. It's always going to be tough. They've got a really good setup there. But the last time they played them, they actually lost 6-0. So to go up there, only get beat by 3, and with a really young side full of academy graduates from the development team, I think they were really proud of the efforts that they put in.
The team itself has shown really good progress so far this season, hasn't it? And they're on the right track for a successful year.
Yeah, absolutely. They've had 2 tough fixtures. I think the 2 Southampton teams are arguably the 2 best sides that they'll face this season. So they picked up a point against one of those 2 teams. So I think once again they'll be looking to really push on this year and try and get near that sort of top 3. And the team's looking really good, really promising at the moment with the young girls that have come up this season. They've made a really good start to their careers at senior level.
What's on the horizon? Did I see cup football?
Yes, yeah. So the next 2 games are both at home. Hopefully, both at Speeds Meadow, weather permitting. They've got Swindon in the cup on Sunday. That's second round qualifying, so they'll be looking to progress from there. Swindon didn't have as good a season last year, but it looks like they've recruited well over the summer. And I think that will be a tough fixture, but certainly with it being at home, a winnable one. And then following that, they've got another home game as well, and back to league action. So yeah, plenty of football coming up.
And just to finish off, the coverage is starting to look really good on the social media accounts, isn't it? I mean, I guess we should also thank Exeter College students for helping out with filming of games as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think my role this season is to try and give the team the coverage that I believe their efforts deserve. 2 years ago they won the league and won it well. Last year, moving up a division, they competed very well. Finishing in the top 4, and on the field, the women's setup has developed so much. We've got really good academy set up as well, and I think the recognition for those efforts is deserving, and hopefully we can get the rest of the journey that team and that group is on out into the open and get people starting to take notice of it, really.
And finally, we caught up with our overseas Grecian, Anthony Wilson, as he gives his thoughts ahead of the game.
Can you tell us a little bit about your Grecian journey? I mean, you're currently living in Spain, so you're the furthest away of anyone that we've spoken to so far.
Right, I've lived a lot further away from England than this in the past as well. I've lived in quite a few countries and tried to follow City in quite a few countries. It's a lot easier now with iFollow and everything like that. My first game was when we lived in Exeter. We lived in Exeter as a family between I was like 4 till 10, I suppose, and we a game when I was 9, which was Cambridge at home in their first ever. I know it was their first ever league season, Cambridge, in 1971 probably. But when we moved twice after that, Taunton and then near Lyme Regis, and when I lived near Lyme, I used to go quite a few Saturdays in the promotion season of 77 with the Tony Callow Alambia partnership up front, which was amazing. That was a good team. And then I lived in the north of England for about 10 years and used to go to away games around there, like especially. And I actually went to both Newcastle games, the one in St James's Park and St James's Park. From Sheffield, I went north and south for the in 1981 for the classic 4-0 game, which is unforgettable for anybody who was there. Yeah. But since then, I mean, I've hardly lived anywhere near the West Country, even in England. So it's always away games or no games. Last season I just saw Plymouth at home. I timed my visit to my family, kind of coincidentally for a slaughtering of Argyle, which was perfect.
So your last visit before, when was your last visit before last year? Because obviously, I mean, the place has changed a lot over the last few years, hasn't it?
Yeah. Well, usually around Christmas I come. So I remember a game that was rained off at home and a Yeovil away game. I think that was the season before, around Christmas. But I'm not sure. It could have been before that. But normally I come in holiday times when I can get home to the ground, and otherwise I watch all the games home and away if I can. Sometimes I miss one or two on iFollow.
And what do you make of iFollow as well? I mean, for yourself and for the kind of situation, it's a great product to be able to watch the game. I know it's nothing like being at the game, but having the ability to watch must.
It's improved a lot, and I love it personally, because I mean, I find it a luxury being able to watch City like any time here, and you pay for it, but I hope a lot of that money goes to the club, which would be good if it does, and I think it does. So yeah, I like it. I mean, I think some of the camera work at some of the grounds, not ours, they kind of focus on the ball and then they swing around with the ball, and it's like, no, just give me the frame of the game a bit more, That's my only real gripe with it. When that happens, I'm like, oh no, not again. Like, there's about 3 or 4 grounds in our division where that happens.
I mean, do you find it still gives you a connection to the club as well, even though you're so far away?
Yeah, I mean, what really gave me the connection to the club was the supporters website, XWeb, in around 2000. I started using that, and that really gave me a connection to the club. I mean, it was like when I went to St James's Park when I lived in South Africa for 7 years, and I didn't see us play for like 4 or 5 years, and I went one day and I met loads of people I'd met on XWeb, and it was like, wow, this is amazing. It's like a community club, you really feel that when you go there. I think a day out at Exeter is better than a day out at a big club. I mean, I can't imagine if you having the same connection if you go and watch, Man City or even some of the less rich clubs in the Premier League.
And what is it about the match day at St James Park that you like when you come back as well?
Pretty much everything. I mean, I always go a couple of hours before. I try and see people that I haven't seen. I know a lot of people a little bit, and it's difficult to prepare it as well, because you have to send messages to people that I don't see that or contact that often. So it's like, I don't always do it that well, but I just love being around the whole thing. It makes me very happy to go to any games, home or away. Yeah.
Season so far as well, we're 4 or 5 games in. I mean, it's been a pretty good start, you'd say, really, given the changes last season. I mean, what have you made of the start so far?
I'm really excited. Josh Key, Joel Randall, really, really excited. I think we've made defensive mistakes, and if we hadn't made those mistakes, we'd have more points than we do now. And I do think that won't be the case all the way through the season. We've got a good squad, good players to come off the bench. I'm a bit. I mean, some fans don't like this opinion, but I would prefer a defensive midfield player, a real one, in front of centre backs. Because I just think the ones we have are, especially Archie Collins is a very creative player. He has that kind of Bergkamp, Laudrup, perfect pass along the floor thing, which I love. It's my thing I love that type of football player. And I think he could play a bit higher up the field. Although I think he is our best player in that position, the one he plays in. I don't think we've got a better player at the moment in that position, although Atangana maybe,
Has it been pleasing to see us kind of hit the back of the net more this season as well? And last season, the goals didn't come as freely as they've been so far.
Yeah, it's really exciting, and I think Joel Randall scares the hell out of defenders. And if we keep Randall Williams, having both of them, I mean, defenders, we're going to really give defenses trouble this season. Last season, we started really well. Is it last season we started really? I think we did, right?
Yeah.
But I always felt like the goals were always coming down the right flank. Like Williams was brilliant at the first half of last season, but it was all coming down. And I didn't feel that we were actually high enough up the pitch. But actually, with Matt J and Randall actually playing quite high up, when they can, I think this causes a lot of. And I think we need to do that. I think we need to play further up.
Certainly, pace on the counter as well, don't we?
Yeah, there's some brilliant football players we have, and the best ones come out of the academy. It's amazing. Like, you know, they I don't know what they're doing in that academy, but everything is right. Like,
so yeah, tomorrow, as we speak now, tomorrow we'll be playing Walsall. I mean, the team who are very much in form, they've not lost in the last 10 matches. Obviously, we had a lockdown in between, but ironically, our last game of last season before it got called off was Walsall away in that 3-1 defeat. I mean, it's going to be a very tough game, isn't it?
Yeah, I can't say I know that much about them. I went to Walsall once and we lost 3-0. It was pretty miserable. But I mean, they're unbeaten. I've seen that. They haven't lost the game. So we'll see how that goes. I think we can beat anyone in the division on our day. And the point is, you know, I mean, at League Two level, footballers play at League. No disrespect to any footballer at League Two level, because obviously they're way better than I could ever dream of being. But the reason why they play at League Two level is because they don't play as well as they can every single minute of every game. You know, and you make one mistake and everyone focuses on it. You know, and on our day, we're better than any team in the division, and we've already shown that Cambridge and Salford are good teams. You know, definitely held our own against Salford. In fact, we murdered them in the first 30 minutes. So, you know, it's a case of. I mean, I think Matt Taylor works hard on that. It's keeping players focused as much all the time. You know, that they're playing. You know, to because there's some really, really good footballers in our team. I mean, very, very good players. I think the standard now is so much higher than it was like 6-7 years ago, definitely 10 or 20 years ago. Standard in our league. I mean, teams defend now in League Two. Teams defend as a team. Like, everybody gets behind the ball. That wasn't even the case in the Premier League about 15 years ago. Every team in the whole pyramid plays like that now. You know, when you don't have the ball, everybody's got to be in the right place, or they get a rollicking after the match. I'm assuming, you know, like it's pretty impressive, and it's difficult to judge players now because you get so little time on the ball. So it's a lot about mentality and just keeping focus as much as anything else, I think.
One thing that seems to have disappeared this year is that home advantage as well, doesn't it? I don't know if that's down to without fans or just the nature of football at the moment. But you wouldn't say a game was a home banker anymore, would you?
No, I mean especially without crowds, that's gone, isn't it? I think. And sometimes the way we play, we prefer teams to come at us. Sometimes. You know, a lot of teams suffer from this now. Like, breaking pack defenses down isn't easy. So home crowds expect you to attack. So sometimes you're left with that behind you, you know. I mean, under Paul Tisdale, it was kind of famous, you know, that we found it very difficult at home to play. And then, you know, people didn't see the away games. And sometimes we were way better away from home than we were at home. Well, the results showed that, you know. But yeah.
I'm just going to have to push you for a score prediction for tomorrow now. I don't think anyone ever gets these right, so don't feel any pressure.
No, totally. I'm going to say we'll score twice, and it's either 2-1 or 2-2. I'll go 2-1.
Take that, definitely. Well, thanks for taking the time to speak to us, and hopefully you enjoy the game on iFollow tomorrow, and it'll be a good Saturday afternoon. Cheers,
Scott. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for watching this edition of Park Life, and as ever, do get in touch with us on Twitter @official ECFC. There's still time to grab your match pass for today's game for just £10. Head over to the website for that. And there's just one final thing to say. Come on, City!